So first off, I guess on behalf of the Peterson family, they would like me to welcome each and every one of you to the memorial celebrating a son, brother, and friend, Nate Peterson. You know, talking with Joe and Patty right after all this happened, and you go, well, how are you guys doing? I remember Joe said, we're sad, but we're glad. And in typical Patty fashion, no, that's not right, Joe. We are, we're sad and we're mad, but we're glad. And I think that's a real key point. Sad, because there's no way to sugarcoat it. Having this event sucks. But having all of you here to pay tribute to not only Nate, but to his family, words can't do justice to what that means to them. They're mad. They were robbed of more time in this life with him, with their son, with their brother, and we were too. But I think most importantly, they're glad. They're glad because Nate was raised in this church, and not only by his family, but by a huge percentage of those of you who are here. You had a major influence on his life. But more importantly, they're glad because Nate had a faith. He struggled with it like we all do, but Nate really had a relationship with Jesus. And we're never going to know until it's our time, like Nate, but we do have faith that we will see him again. And he is out of pain, and he's with Jesus. And so we are glad for that. And with that being said, they said, could you start off, just do a couple songs and a couple worship songs? And we started to think about it, but even just the music you were just hearing, Nate had a really eclectic, wide appreciation of music. I mean, he had stuff from classic 70s yacht rock to big heavy metal hair bands, 80s pop and techno. So anyway, so we thought we would just mix it up a little bit with a couple songs to start off, but we put in a little twist to honor Nate. So we'll give it a shot. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. And I get a peaceful, easy feeling. I know you won't let me down. Like a flood, his mercy reigns, unending love, amazing grace. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe this far, and grace will lead me home. And I get a peaceful, easy feeling. I know you won't let me down. Like a flood, his mercy reigns, unending love, amazing grace. When we've been bright shining as the sun. We've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. And I get a peaceful, easy feeling. I know you won't let me down. Yeah, I get a peaceful, easy feeling. I know you won't let me down. Like a flood, His mercy reigns. Like a flood, His mercy reigns. Like a flood, His mercy reigns. Unending love, amazing grace. Unending love, amazing grace. This next song was one that Joe asked. It's one that when Nate and Liz were little kids and shared a room, he would sing to them every night when he put them to bed. Jesus, lover of my soul. Jesus, I will never let you go. You taken me from the miry clay, set my feet upon the rock. Now I know I love you, I need you. You're my only hope, I'll never let you go. You're my Savior, my closest friend. I will worship you until the very end. Have I told you lately that I love you? Have I told you there's no one above you? Fill my heart with gladness, take away all my sadness, ease my troubles, that's what you do. There's a love that's divine, and it's yours and mine like the sun. At the end of the day, we give thanks and pray to the one whose name is Jesus, lover of my soul. Jesus, I will never let you go. You taken me from the miry clay, set my feet upon the rock. Now I know I love you, I need you. You're my only hope, I'll never let you go. You're my Savior, my closest friend. I will worship you until the very end. I love you, I need you. You're my only hope, I'll never let you go. You're my Savior, my closest friend. I will worship you until the very end. worship you until the very end. I will worship you until the very end.
Let's pray. Dear God, we just thank you for Nate. Thank you for all of us having a part in his life, in our lives. Help us. Help us today. Whatever our need might be. Jesus, we need you more and more. Pray a special blessing upon the Peterson family. And I pray, God, that you would just help us to see answers when we don't have any. Help us to trust in you and obey. In Jesus' name. Amen. Nate Peterson, 1995. It seems like yesterday, 1995. We are thinking of Nate today, his life, our lives, what's next. Maybe the greatest statement on life is found in the Bible. Paul says, I would not have you to be ignorant concerning them which are asleep, that ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope. For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so them also which sleep. They sleep in Jesus. And those God will bring with him. 1 Thessalonians 4:13 through 14. That's from the greatest book ever written, the most read book throughout all of the world, the most followed moral book, the Bible. It gives us a look into that experience that happens to us all. My wife's mother passed away in July. My mom passed away just a few weeks ago. One was 97, the other was 98. But I can tell you, it didn't hit me anywhere near like it did when I heard about Nate. Short lives seem to have the most difficult to deal with. We that are alive. I'm not going to speak long, and I'm going to hope that many of you will share your story about Nate with us, maybe that all of us didn't hear. But one thing I have no regrets from knowing and praying and being with Nate. I'm glad he lived. He had a strong confidence. I guess I could see it the best when I looked at the rugby picture. We both played rugby. He talked to me about it. But he had a strong confidence. And the last time that I was with him, we prayed together. Nate's life is with those that sleep. They're free from the struggle. On our program that we have today, it says, if the Son therefore shall make you free, you shall be free indeed. And thank God, I believe Nate is free. And we struggle with this. Religious groups, churches try to understand this sleep. But the Word of God tells us in 1 Peter chapter 1, though you have not seen him, being Jesus, you love him. And even though you do not see him now, you believe in him and are filled with an inexpressible and glorious joy. There's something here today that makes the difference in life, and it's Jesus. It's Jesus. Jesus and more Jesus. That's what gets us through this. It goes on to say, for you're receiving the end of the result of your faith, the salvation of your soul. 1 Corinthians 15:20. But Christ has indeed been raised from the dead, the first fruits of those who have fallen asleep. I declare to you, brothers and sisters, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, nor does the perishable inherit the imperishable. This is our great hope. This is our great answer to all of our prayers and being here. And I was just thinking when they were singing songs is that my mom is in heaven talking with Nate. She's going to tell him some good things. I don't know how to deal with this, but Nathan means given by God. He was the answer to our prayers after his brother, before him, Peter, passed. We asked why. Then we cried, and then God gave us Nate. A great blessing. God, our Father, He is our Father, will one day have the answer. We trust God's promises and obey God's encouragement that even this He will work together for good. There's a lot of people here that I haven't seen for a long time, people that went to the church. You know, we go different ways in life. I always hate it. I always hate it. I hate it when my kids leave my house. I have 8, so there was a lot of them. But you know, there's always something good that comes from it. God will bring good. That is His promise. And the more that you believe in God and believe in Jesus Christ, you will see that promise fulfilled. Thank God for Nate.
Oh, boy. Thank you all so much for coming. This is kind of a holy time. And we're here because of love. And both divine love and human love. So God's love in creating Nate and the love that you had for Nate and the love that Nate had for you. Thank you, Pastor Rob and Lighthouse family and all our friends for all the love you've been pouring out since you heard, pouring out on our family at this time and sharing your memories of Nate. We like that the best. We thank you for your prayers and your words and your flowers and the food, oh my gosh, and the fellowship. And thanks for being with us here today. Mostly, though, we do thank God for giving us Nathan Joseph Peterson for 25 earthly years, and we thank him for our future in eternity with Nate. So I loved and I continue to love my son, Nate. I am proud of so many of his accomplishments, including the toughness and endurance that he displayed on the football field, including his kindness there, always helping up the guy that he just obliterated. And he loved his teammates and was a true soldier there. He was loyal and true to his friends, whom he loved. And he was also one of 3 who wore the number 33, along with his 2 brothers, his older brothers. People ask us, how are you doing? And I say, well, we are 100% sad because we miss Nate, and we're 100% glad because he's in heaven, because of the unmerited love that Jesus expressed for Nate, paying his ransom in full on the cross. We don't know exactly why Nate suffered so much emotional torment, and he sought to mask it. On the home screen of Nate's phone, it said, "To wisdom we whisper sweet promises, but to pain we obey." The word pain was capitalized. Nate's strength to endure the pain of his brokenness was also his weakness. Nate actually never hit bottom, but instead would only adapt and improvise. I felt his intense pain, his desperate sense of isolation and desolation many times, and I tried my best to help him in every way that I could. To our family, Nate will always be Mr. Wonderful, his childhood nickname, and I'm here to tell you that Mr. Wonderful is no longer trapped. God has set him free. A believing friend of mine told me that he believes that because of God's love and his compassion, he brings believers home at the point of their highest spiritual value to him. And he also does it to prevent further suffering. I believe I believe God allowed circumstances to accomplish this for Nate. I believe God thought, enough suffering for you, Nate. It's time for you to come home and be with me. But my words are less important than Nate's own words and God's words that Nate valued. So in a minute, you'll hear from Patty. She'll share what Nate actually wrote about morality, honesty, loyalty, respect, hope for a wife, love, and meaning. So now I want to share with you the verses that Nate had highlighted in his Bible. Ephesians 2:8 and 9, "For by grace you have been saved through faith, not that of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not of works, lest anyone should boast." Romans 14:1 through 4, "Receive one who is weak in faith, but not to disputes over doubtful things. For one believes he may eat all things, but he who is weak eats only vegetables. But who are you to judge another's servant? To his own master he stands or falls. Indeed, he will be made to stand, for God is able to make him stand." James 1:12 said, "Blessed is the man who endures temptation, for when he has been approved, he will receive the crown of life, which the Lord has promised those who love him." Elsewhere it says that they will cast those crowns down at the feet of Jesus in glory. And I think Nate's getting ready to toss here, his crown. James 1:2 through 3 says, "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience." That was a hard one for Nate. Luke 9:23, the last one, says, "Then Jesus said to them all, if anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me." So I just want to say thank you, Lord God, for Nate. Now let's hear from Nate's trophy mom and my trophy wife, Patty.
So we do have many of the same stories to share, and I know some of you lived through them too. Thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing our grief so much. The morning Nate passed away, it was not within the first hour. I received a text from Jennifer Scribner, and she had said in her morning devotion, it said, "So if the Son sets you free, you are free indeed." And then she says, free defined, liberated, delivered, and acquitted. And to hear acquitted, that just made all the difference. That is what I needed to hear. Because Nate blamed himself and we had blamed him, but now he was set free, and we are too. And I thank you for that, Jennifer. Look at this on the program. It was amazing. Many of you know that we did or do have a child that passed away before Nate. And he was just born 2 years after Luke, and his name was Peter. And if Peter had not died, Nate would not be born. Nate or Elizabeth, and I have told them that because we would have had other children, but it wouldn't have been Nate. You know what I mean? In that birth order, it was just like great because the name Nathan means given of God. And so God gave me Nate, and for that I'm ever thankful. When you have a child that dies, you do have a very big hole in your heart, and you want to replace that baby, but it was in God's perfect timing that Nate was born 2.5 years later. And as Joe said, we called him Mr. Wonderful, but I don't think necessarily his brothers did. At times, you know, the third brother right in a row there. Nate loved people, and so when he was born, he would smile at them. He wanted to get their attention. He was that smiling baby, always like trying to attract the person to him, to have that interaction with him. Everyone wanted to be his friend, and he wanted to be with them. He was Peter Pan, leading the lost boys, and there were many of them at the Lighthouse Church here. And there was only one girl in the class, and that was Tori. And Nate vexed his teachers from Carrie Caesar to Jennifer Scribner to Dan Summer, and he loved it. His baseball team was the Sandlot team. I mean, that's it. They were scrappers. He was Nacho Libre, and he was Napoleon Dynamite. The last one, and we watched this movie just recently, he was Sergeant Savage in Small Soldiers, and he loved his toys. He played with them forever, for hours on end, and I saved every toy in a bin in our shed for his grandchildren. I mean, my grandchildren. Nate and I shared a special song, and he would sleep in our room on the floor in a sleeping bag beside our bed very often. And when Joe sang Jesus, Lover of My Soul, I sang a Barbra Streisand song. And I sang, oh, my man, I love you so. You'll never know. All my life is just despair, but I don't care. When you take me in your arms, the world is right, all right. And that is the relationship that Nate and I shared. Nate was mischievous. Some of you know that he has some famed things that he did. Playing hide and seek at our house. He locked himself in the trunk of Rachel's car. And the fire department had to come, and no one could find him for a long time. He was a skater, and Joe had built him this really big drop-in ramp, and all the guys came over to drop in. But he laid in the street one day with his skateboard, squirted ketchup on himself, and waited for cars to come by and stop and ask him, are you okay? What's wrong? What's wrong? And the drivers were very unhappy about that. They drug him over to our house. Really. As Joe said, Nate wore number 33, which was Pastor Rob Scribner's number, just like his brothers, Kurt and Luke. And I was so very proud of him. While 8-man football, here at Lighthouse, a championship has always eluded the Saints. I will still pray for that from heaven. But he did love rugby, and he became a really great rugby player, and that was at a very young age. Probably started that just about junior high also, because he started all of his friends in the Pop Warner football in the Vikings. But he played rugby. In his senior year, he led them to the national championships, and they went and played in Indiana. So his team here, the Santa Monica Dolphins, won the national championship. Mm-hmm. The years after he graduated were turbulent, and we tried to help him. He was quick to anger, but he was quick to repent. Like 5 minutes later. We know the desires of his heart that he often shared with me, and he had his struggles, which we made a list together, and we called it Nate's Better Year. And every year, I would send him the list, Nate's Better Year. But he made his own list, and Joe mentioned this. A friend of his who's here today named Jacob, Nate had lived in Texas the past couple of months, and Jacob flew here with Nate to see us when he passed away. And so Jacob went back to pack up his things, and he said, look at this note that I found that Nate had left on his desk. The first word is morals. Honesty, loyalty, treat others how I want to be treated, respect. And he says, I want my life to be simple but meaningful. I want to somehow help others to stay away from the same mistakes I made. I want to make my parents proud. I want a woman to stand by me through thick and thin like I would. I want to surf like I skate, and I want to become healthy physically and mentally. What a great desire to have. So as I said earlier, Nate was the most wanted baby. And I received a card, many, many cards. And this one spoke to me that I received, and it says, as I was praying, a thought occurred to me about how we dedicate our children to the Lord. And here in the Lighthouse Church, we dedicate them to the Lord, and we agree that we're going to help share in raising them together. So in the book of Samuel, 1 Samuel 27 and 28, Hannah said, and this is in dedicating her son Samuel, I prayed for this child, and the Lord has granted me what I asked of him. So now I give him to the Lord, for his whole life will be given over to the Lord. That's what we pray, even though his life was short. I trust God's plan for Nate's life was fulfilled, even if we didn't see it, before God called Nate back to his eternal home. So thank you so much for being with us today. God bless you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. I'm sure he'd be very happy at the turnout. Yeah, I'm Kurt. I'm Nate's oldest brother. If there was one word to describe my brother Nate, it would be wild. And it would be wild with a capital W. He was mad to live, mad to love, and taken from us far too soon. Nate and I had a special bond that allowed us to connect on a very deep level. Remembering some of the conversations we had are a joy I will draw on for the rest of my life. I loved him, and he loved me. I was in San Diego when I got the news, which was obviously shocking, but even more so because he had called me the day before in a great mood. He was about to buy a car and said he wanted to come visit me with his friend Will. I said sure and was happy that things were going well for him. Obviously, things turned out very differently. My brother was a complex and multifaceted character. He was both the hero and the villain in his own story. My favorite story that illustrates just how different my brother was when I was about 16 and he was about 8. There's a liquor store near our house that we would get candy from, and to get to it, we had to walk across a very busy street into some bushes before we got to a quiet street. As he and I and one of his friends were waiting for all the cars to pass by, he suddenly took off like a lightning bolt into a street with freeway-like traffic. There was a car coming straight for him, and he wasn't even looking at it, focusing all his attention on running full speed across the street. Just as the car seemed to hit him, he long jumped like an Olympic athlete straight into the bushes, and the car barely missed him. Upon further investigation, the tire from the car had actually singed one of his socks. He had been that close to death at only 8 years old. Of course, he acted like it was nothing. That's how crazy my brother was, and how he lived his life. I'm sure many of you have similar stories of him constantly pushing his life to the edge, and I urge you to share them. Because of how much my brother loved music, I decided to write a poem to hopefully honor him in the way that he would most cherish. I know he's looking down on us right now. Where are you going? Why are you leaving? Was it really so bad? Do you know we are grieving? I know you loved me, and you know I loved you, so how dare you leave us? Who will I talk to? But I'm thinking of me when I should be thinking of you. Your pain is now over, and you get to start anew. What is there to say other than how much fun you are, how wild your laugh is, and how much you love to spar? There's no question you're a fighter, and a damn good one too, another warrior in the family, but with an angle that was new. For what you brought to the table was wild, and that was your strength, untamed in all your glory, to help carry you the length. There's no question you were nuts, but that's why you were fun, and why we got along so well until the end of the run. I wish there was more I could say, other than you'll be missed. I know I'll see you again, in whatever form you exist. So raise your glass and look to the dawn, for the one we know as Nate has now passed on.
Okay. So first off, I would like to say that my heart, while hurting very much, is really happy seeing everybody here. I didn't doubt for a minute that he was loved, but it's so wonderful to see everybody here. Okay. I told myself I wouldn't cry till my turn. It's my turn. Okay, so this is a little unusual, but my family will understand. The holidays were really important to my family, and no matter what was happening, no matter if people were in or out, up or down, you came home for Christmas. You came home, you spent time with your family. And more than Christmas Day, we had a day that was special to us, and it was called Christmas Cheer. And so we all got together to decorate the tree, to just have fun. But after everything was done, we would sit down, and my mom would read stories, Christmas stories. And she pretty much read the same 2 every year, and more after that. But all the boys, myself, what other boys were living in our house at the time, you know who you are, you sat and you listened. And I want to read one of those stories. It's called The Christmas Feathers. Okay. It was the day after Thanksgiving, and I was plenty worried. I like Christmas, but not half as much as my mom does. She has a routine about Christmas that we stick to like glue. On that Friday, we took down the Thanksgiving decorations, and Mom cleaned the house good. My brothers and I went outside to shoot baskets just to stay out of her way. That night, I counted the money in my wallet again. I had bought presents a couple of days before, dish towels for Mom, white socks for Dad, nifty cars for my brothers. All I had left was 42 cents. How had I forgotten about the stockings? Saturday morning after chores, we watched cartoons and waited for Mom to start the tradition. It wasn't long until she called me into the living room. "Bring me the hammer from the kitchen toolbox." I took it to her, and I don't know why she didn't get it before she starts stringing the wire across the fireplace for the stockings, but she never does. After a lot of pounding, she got the nails in the old holes and wrapped the wire around them. "What do you think, Rob? Looks pretty festive." "Sure does, Mom." I knew what she would say next. "Maybe there will be something in them before nightfall." "Maybe there will be something in them before nightfall," she said happily. From the day after Thanksgiving, when we hang the stockings until Christmas Eve, we all sneak things into the stockings. And this is actually a family tradition for us as well. Santa finishes filling them up when he comes, and all that time, we never peek, but we get to feel through the socks and make guesses. Of course, nobody ever tells us if we're right or not. Before lunch, there was something in all the stockings, except Mom's. We all knew she had put things in the socks, but she wouldn't talk. I checked with the other boys, and they didn't have anything for the stockings either. By supper time, there was one more thing in the stockings, except for Mom's. I thought I could feel a new pocket knife, but I couldn't be sure. I knew Mom was feeling left out because there was nothing in her stocking, and it was almost time for Christmas cheer. While she was in the kitchen, I went upstairs to my room to think, what did I have to put in her stockings? She always said it was the thought that counts, but I didn't have many thoughts. I looked through the drawers of my desk, but didn't find anything that would work. Like paper clips, pencils, didn't seem right. Neither did rubber bands or ruler. Then I saw my feather collection. I had collected feathers all summer and poked the ends into a short plastic tube I had found in the barn. I must have had 30 feathers, and I loved their soft feel. They weren't just from our chickens either. I had one from a cardinal and one from a blue jay. There were lots of different colors and shades. Mom might love them as much as I did. I snuck down the stairs and stuffed my feather collection in Mom's stocking. Joe saw me. "What are you doing? She'll hate that," he said. "Why?" "You know she's afraid of spiders and stuff." "Feathers aren't spiders." "No, but they're from birds, and I don't think she likes birds much either." She wouldn't let me get that parakeet I wanted. I was going to take it out, but Mom came into the room as I reached for it. Her eyes lit up when she saw her stocking. "Something in my stocking," she said, and walked over to feel it. "Whatever can it be?" She felt and felt, but said she had no idea what it was. I looked at Joe, and he looked at me. There was no way I could take it out now. We had Christmas cheer in the living room. Mom filled the reindeer glasses with pop and brought in a tray of cookies. We all had our Christmas cheer by the fireplace so we could look at the stockings. 2 weeks later, all the decorations were up. Every decoration my brothers and I had ever made in school was on the walls, and we had decorated the Christmas tree. We had Christmas cheer with the lighting ceremony when Dad put the star on the top of the tree. I had wrapped my presents and put them under the tree. By adding another 2 weeks' allowance to my money, I had enough to buy packs of gum to put in everybody's stockings, including my own, since I like gum. But I kept thinking about the feather collection. Maybe Joe was wrong. I loved it, so why wouldn't Mom? Christmas morning finally came. First thing we did was light a fire and put on Christmas music while Mom plugged in the coffee pot. Then we tackled her stockings. I got the pocket knife just like I wanted, and disappearing ink, gum, poster paint, gum, a new belt, 2 candy bars, gum, all in an apple and orange. What a haul. "Rob." I looked up when Mom said my name. She was holding my feather collection, and it looked like she was going to cry. She hated it. Joe was right. It was a dumb idea. "Rob," she said, "I will treasure your feather collection always. This is a gift from the heart, the most special kind." "Thank you, Rob. I will keep it in my desk whenever you want to see it, and to add to it you may." She smiled at me with her eyes all shiny, and I will never forget that Christmas as long as I live. And if any of you are thinking of Nate right now, which I think everyone is, that kid is Nate, the person who wanted to give from his heart. He didn't always have a lot to give, but he gave selflessly. He gave of his time. He gave his friendship. He gave his smiles. He gave whatever he had. And he didn't really ask for anything back. It made him so happy just to give and to see that his gifts were valued. And what I want to say is, there are some people here, myself included, you have gifts to give, and you're afraid to give them. You're afraid that people won't like them, that they won't be fancy enough. And I don't want to tell you to not be afraid, because the giving of the gift made Nate happy, but we treasure so much the memories that we have of him because he gave selflessly. And I just want to take the time to say, a lot of you have been that way for us through this time of grief. But if there's anything to take away from today, just give. Give what you have and don't wait. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm Nate's other brother, Luke Peterson. And when it comes to thinking about my brother growing up, he had a superpower of making friends. There was nobody that he couldn't be friends with. And one of the earliest memories I had of that was when I had Justin Kane come over for, we were gonna hang out one time, and then all of a sudden I couldn't find him. I couldn't find my friend, and then I hear some ruckus out back, and Nate's got him playing this army game in the back, and they're having the best time. And I was like, what the heck? You're my friend. Justin, why are you hanging out with Nate? But, Nate's a fun guy. He just wanted to be your friend. He wanted you to participate. He wanted you to play along. And that's something that I valued so much. And ever since he was a kid as well, I mean, even me being the older brother, I had my older brother, Kurt, and Kurt never wanted me to play with, his friends. So I would always be cut out of that. But I mean, me and the boys would come into my room, and all of a sudden, maybe 30 minutes go by, and we're like, wait, we hear Nate say something. We're like, Nate, what are you doing in the room? And he's like, oh, I just want to hang out with you guys, And he just would do that. He would never stop trying to be part of the crew, and he earned it. I mean, that's something that I just really admired in him. And he wouldn't take no for an answer. If you wouldn't be his friend, he'd fight you, and then he would make you his friend. I mean, he just was tenacious to that degree. And I miss him. I miss him a lot, and I miss the years that we're not going to be able to get back to being the brother. But I'm very happy to see all of you here, and that's all I really have to say.
Hi, everyone. My name is Liz, for those of you who don't know me. I have an increasingly large fear of public speaking, so bear with me. I'm the youngest of the 5. I'm Nate's baby sister. Okay, sorry. Nate and I are the closest in age, only being 2.5 years apart. And from my observation, siblings closest in age usually aren't that close, especially if it's a brother and a sister. For Nate and I, it was anything but that growing up. Just last week, I had Zoe and Mr. Fountainher asking me if when I was brought home from the hospital, if Nate didn't want me. Because many kids are like that when they're no longer the baby or the center of attention. And Rachel and I immediately said no. Nate never made me feel unwanted. He was my first friend. We did everything together. And we went everywhere together, despite our polar opposite nature as children. Him being the little Spitfire people person, he loved people. Me, I never smiled, never. And I was so shy and reserved in nature publicly, but my family, who's here, know that I'm not like that. But he never saw me that way or made fun of me for being quiet. He let me hang out with him and his friends, always included me instead of being acting like I was his annoying little sister. I would also like to share some memories I have of Nate and I together that are moments I have just between him and I. All of you know my dad. My dad is an incredibly smart man, but he explains everything in a very, very complicated way. And so my dad was trying to teach me how to ride my bike for years. And so I would just go everywhere with Nate on my little scooter, my Razor and everything. But Nate, we had a Yosemite trip with the Canes, and I was 10 years old, and I still didn't know how to ride my bike. And one day, Nate and I went outside. He made me get on the bike, and he said, "Hold on," and he simply just pushed me. That's all he did. And I immediately knew how to ride my bike. It was so easy, and then after that, it was fine, and Nate and I would go to swim practice and ride everywhere. One time I got hit by a car. He told me not to tell anyone. But I'm fine. It wasn't that bad. And then also Nate and I shared a room until I was about 10 or 11, I think. And so Nate and I, at night, after everything, Nate would keep his Game Boy under his pillow. And then if everybody who's been to our house before, we had a bunk bed, and the bottom was a full and the top was a twin. And so Nate and I would stay up to the late hours of night, going back and forth between each level, trying to beat it, and never told anyone because we're not supposed to stay up, but we did that. But then at the end of the night, sometimes, Nate, despite being the older brother, would say, "Liz, will you sleep with me? I'm scared." And I'm terrified of the dark. Still am. But he I never told this to anyone, but he and I would just sleep together, and it just felt nice to be the younger one, feeling like I'm protecting him from something, even though he was my protector, and he was the one who stood up for me despite everything. And also, because we shared a room, and when we were older and Nate finally got me to break out of my shell and I was being not the goody two-shoes I was known for, we would get grounded, the new thing, no longer being spanked. And so then what Mom didn't know was that Nate and I had an old satellite TV in the drawer. And so we didn't have cable, but we had satellite, so we already knew all the channels, and even we'd watch on this. It's probably like this big and had the antenna and everything. And it was like, that was just the thing. We were like, joke's on you. We're still having fun up here. And Nate and I had a very special bond. As kids, I had never had anyone, and still have never had anyone, that can make me laugh as hard as he did. Nate and I would literally just be sitting there or sit at dinner, and Nate would just look at me. We'd just look at each other. Absolutely nothing was said. Not a single word. He'd start laughing. Then I'd start laughing. Then he would start laughing more. Then I would start laughing even harder. But then the laughs no longer were making noises, and it was just bodies being shaken at the table, and everyone was completely confused. But that was the type of bond that Nate and I had, just laughing together. And it was very special for me because no one really made me feel that way. I didn't have many friends, and I didn't really want to, and that's fine. But he was like that, and he was just so amazing. And also Nate and I, when I was in second grade, and he was in fourth grade. He had to be homeschooled for a year because he was such a ruckus. And then Mom took me out of school so he could have a friend, because that's how close we were. And you know what Nate and I did? Watched Beverly Hillbillies, and we watched all of the Star Trek, and we made deviled eggs. We didn't really do our work, just sat in pajamas. And then Mom, of course, sent us back after half of a year because she couldn't handle it. But that's just the type of, I miss that. I'm going to miss him so much. But this is something I've not shared with many people. But I have a poppy tattoo on the left side of my body, and because I keep it close to my heart. And I've never really, I haven't told many people the meaning of this tattoo, because most people just look at a girl and they're like, oh my gosh, it's just a flower tattoo. She thinks she's so cool. And but I got it after my sophomore year of college, after finally I was able to forgive Nate for all of the years of us when we were older. And I chose not to tell people because it just seems so special to me. But it's in black and white, it's not in color, because poppy has many different meanings. But the three meanings that I stuck with, and one I've added on, is that remembrance. Everyone knows that the red poppy means remembrance. And I didn't want to forget the things that had gone on between Nate and I. I wanted to remember, and that I had chosen to forgive him, that I was strong enough to forgive him. And I never told Nate this or anything, but it's just something that I keep with me. And it also means hope. I'm not a hopeful person, but my middle name is Hope. And that's the largest joke of them all. But it really, I'm very straightforward. Nate was the charismatic one, the one that was so full of hope and light and love, where I was just I'm not like that. I'm very straightforward and honest. And for me, it was just a reminder to be hopeful, because I was hopeful for the future. I was hopeful for Nate. And that hope got to be fulfilled in a way, because now the other meaning that I've added on is it means peace in death, the white poppy. And now that was the first thing, was that even though I feel slightly angry with the way that everything happened, I felt immense peace that day, because I knew where he was. I knew what happened, and it's just something that I get to carry with me forever now, and that's all I have to say, but I am at peace with Nate, and I love him, and I miss him, and he means the world to me. So that's all. Thank you.
Hi, I am Donovan Garcia, one of the Lost Boys that was welcomed into the Petersons, the Summers, the Scribners, the Masseys, and the list goes on. Because one day, my mother, Yolanda, and my father, Jose, were at Vaughn's, and there was a Lighthouse student named Rusty Gorodetsky selling C's candy. And she asked about what school I went to, because they were looking for a high school. And that day, my fate was sealed. And it was only after getting over my pride and my ignorance to how I was exactly where I needed to be. And opening up your home and your hearts to someone who was difficult. And at one point, we had difficulties where you weren't there, and everyone here was. But now you are, and we're all here. So I look at every single one of them as my own, everything but blood. And for me, Nate was somebody who, potential. He had greatness in him. He needed purpose and direction to fulfill it. And he did a lot of interesting things. And before I read a specific letter, I will share with you one experience where we used to play, and Patty hated this because we never did our chores, or we did them really late, or not at all. Never. No, we didn't. But I remember we sang PTO. It's not paid time off. It's Patty's time. Patty's time off. So I'll make sure I'm putting you to work, and you're going to know it, and you're going to sweat. So Nate, he had a way of, always trying to play with us, and we used to play Call of Duty Modern Warfare. We was obsessed with it. And we would play it, and he was always lingering around, and I was always thought I was the hot shot because I was, getting those kills or in this first-person shooter. And Nate actually played it obsessively to the point where he crushed me. And I was really mad. I was like, no, dude, let's go again. Just crushes me, 360 no scope, he's just eating Cheetos with one finger, just going the other way. And I realized that he was doing that to get close to me. He just wanted to play with me. And that is something that I will never forget because I'm reclusive with my emotions, and I learned that he is not. And that is a lesson that I've learned from him. So this letter I'm about to read was when I was in the United States Marine Corps, and Nate was talking about possibly pursuing going to the Army as a recruit. And he talked to me, and he was like, I really appreciate it if you did that. And I was like, he's talking to his recruiter, and I was like, all right, I'll do it. Just got to hold your end of the bargain up. He went in a different direction. It didn't have to be the military. You can done so many other things. And I never shared it with him, and I never shared it with his recruiter or anyone else. And it was just on my Google Drive. And I thought of him and family and my regret of not letting him know what I saw in him rather than what he did or said that hurt. And so I will share this with everyone here. Okay. From Second Lieutenant Donovan Garcia, Marine Air Liaison Operations Officer, United States Army Recruiting Command. Letter of recommendation, case of Peterson, Nathan, Joseph. The purpose of this letter is to provide a character reference and a recommendation for Nathan Joseph Peterson for service to our country and the United States Army as an enlisted recruit. My experience with joint coalition organizations confer upon myself insight and acumen into the diverse expectations of all U.S. military branches. Before commissioning as an officer in the United States Marine Corps, I was enlisted in the United States Air Force, ending my term at the rank of Staff Sergeant, working in combat operations squadrons and air operations centers with thousands of hours of direct command and control of airstrike and intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions throughout the world, deploying in support of Operation Inherent Resolve in Iraq and Syria, and Ultra Freedom Guardian in the Korean Peninsula and Japan, and lastly, Operation Odyssey Lightning in Libya and Qatar. A soldier embodies core values of loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. I observed these values within Nathan, attending a Lighthouse Christian Academy in Santa Monica, California. Nathan enrolled in a curriculum consisting of academic, physical, and spiritual challenges while involved in multiple sports teams with an emphasis on self-refinement, discipleship, and esprit de corps. Seeking in high school to be an athlete and leader amongst peers, and engaging in volunteer programs locally and internationally, granting him immeasurable lessons of servant leadership and leading by example. Nathan's strong work ethic and an absence of hesitation when confronted with obstacles, and endeavoring to challenge himself by assuming responsibility for his actions, are traits that are desired by all. Learning integrity is not the absence of failure, but moving forward from it. Nathan will not yield when granted an opportunity to earn purpose and a commitment to do something greater than himself. Nathan's experience and warrior ethos rendered him a prime candidate for enlistment. I unreservedly recommend him for consideration as a recruit in the United States Army. If you have questions concerning additional background or qualifications, do not hesitate to contact me regarding this superb individual.
Hello, everybody. Okay, so I got it written down here. I'm going to read this and I'm going to tell a few stories. In loving memory of my dear friend, Nate Peterson, I have so many memories with you, all the way from preschool through 12th grade. Childhood was the most precious time of my life this far, and I know I can say the same for you. We practically knew what we were going to say before we even said it. My friend, I love you, and I'm going to miss you, but we'll be with you soon. Swim team, junior lifeguards, school field trips, lemonade sales, sleepovers, baseball, rugby, football, pranking the girls on school trips in Big Bear and other places. I remember putting on Kurt and Luke's football pads and helmet when we were about 7 or 8 and running full speed right into each other. I remember selling those chocolate bars with you for school, fundraising. I remember most Friday assemblies and Sunday school and Bible books. I remember one of your favorite sides of dinner was couscous. I remember airsoft wars and birthday parties. It wasn't supposed to be this way, dear friend. I'll always remember these childhood memories and can't forget them and won't. And these are just some of my memories. Looking back on the years, you were my best friend, and I am glad to have had such a close friend that I could call my brother. If we had known this day were coming, all of your family and friends would have done everything in our power to help you. I won't talk much about our drug years, but I will say we didn't know what we were doing, and this is the outcome of what we didn't know what we were doing. I will choose to keep the memories of you where you were happy, healthy, wholesome, and had a love for Jesus and people. I love you and will miss you. And no one can replace you, and look forward to making an eternity of memories with you. All my tears are gone, and I know yours are too. See you on the other side, the wild side, my best friend. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe that my best friend is gone, but, you know, he was a friend to a lot of us, and he was a really special person to me because he was someone that I spent most of my time with as a kid growing up, and I have great memories. And you know, the thing about Nate was he was such a great athlete, and everyone that knew him knew how talented he was, and even coaches that, you know, just knew him for the first time, they would always say the most remarkable things about him. And I asked him, why are you so good? And he said, well, I have to live up to Kurt and Luke. And so that's something that always took me back, because I played football, you know, with him starting here at the Lighthouse, just on the schoolyard. And then that was junior high, 7th, 8th grade. Then that was high school, and then rugby. And so, you know, he challenged everyone that was on the same team with him to do their best, because not even with his words, but just with his, you know, athleticism, because he wanted to live up to Kurt and Luke's reputation, and then he also wanted to be better than them. And, you know, without a doubt in my mind, I believe that he would have made it into some kind of professional sport if he had made different choices, because that was the gift that God had given him. And he used that to the best of his ability. And so that's all I have to say, really. Yeah, that's all I have to say, really.
I feel like I kind of got pulled against my will into Nate's life. He worked with me at the YMCA, and at a time when I had moved back to LA because my fiance's artist visa never came through, and we were long distance for 1.5 years, and then it fell apart. And I was very sad, and I was very bitter, and I was trying to do all the good things that I felt like I needed to do to move forward. So I felt like I had a responsibility to the YMCA and to help people and to do what I could. But I didn't have a lot of friends, and I mostly went back and forth from home to work and to all my other things that I did to keep busy. And when Nate needed a place to stay, I kind of was roped into helping him. And he took over my life, and I felt like there wasn't enough room for how big he was and how much, he had a tendency to charm. He knew he could charm. And so he always charmed to get more. And he made me feel like I had to draw a line. And there were even times when he would tell me, "I love you, man." And he would get upset because he could see that I was resistant to say it back. But he pushed and pushed until I did say it back, and I meant it. And when I remember going, he needed, to put some stuff in my locker. And I remember going to my locker to teach a swim class at the Y, and there was literally not enough room in my locker to put my stuff. And having to go to Nate and say, "Listen, can you limit what you're putting in my locker? I need to be able to put my stuff in there too." But I think that he filled my life at a time when I really needed it to be filled in a way.
and it was very much against my will, but I will miss him always playing the same Sublime songs over and over in my car till I memorized every Sublime song that exists. And I will miss him pushing me to get into situations that I wouldn't have gotten into. And when I messaged, I went to clear out my locker at the Y, and it was full of his stuff. And then I went to my trunk, and it was full of his stuff. And I messaged him to return the stuff, and he was already about to leave to go to school in Texas. And then it sat in my trunk for a long time. And then I messaged his parents because he said I could drop his stuff off at the house. And the next day I found out that he had died. And to me, both what overwhelmed me was, why did I wait? Why didn't I do it? Why didn't I reach out sooner? But I also know that when I found out he was going to school in Texas, I told him I was proud of him. And I know that I eventually did come around to tell him that I loved him in a way that he believed. And I'm very grateful for that, because he did push and push and push. But I know that when I think about him now, I think about his smile, I think about his music, and I think about the fact that he pushed me out of my comfort zone. And I'm very grateful for that.
How you doing, everybody? I really enjoyed everything that the family said. I feel like it's everything everybody wanted to say and more. But the emphasis on the wild, y'all know Nate Wild. Y'all know Nate Wild. Like, everybody in this crowd, y'all know Nate is wild. And wild in a good way, you know. Wild is, like, he's great. I worked at the YMCA with Nate. Just as Marcel said, he loves hard. He loved the kids. He loved the staff. He loved. I don't feel like you need a reason to love, and if you have a reason, it's great, but I think it's greater when you don't have a reason. You don't need a reason to love somebody. You don't need a reason. I feel like everybody is worthy of love, and he knew it. We usually have that sense when we're children, and then we break out of that sense as we get older because we see what the world is really like, but the world is really like what we make it. So however we make the world is what the world is going to be. So Nate knew that, and he made the world exactly what he seen it through his eyes. And that world was way better than any one of our worlds. And anybody else's world here it was better. He just seen things better. He was adventurous. He was ready to do everything with the kids, and the greatest thing was reminding the kids to be kids. They do something bad, we discipline them. They do something good, we reward them. When we know we all make mistakes, and the good that we do is a choice that we make. So we get to make the choice to be good. And Nate made that choice every day. And I'm glad that a lot of people touched on that he was hurting, because he was he was hurting. And I feel like that's something that we should all take in, that he was hurting. And he was fighting. But man, he could fight. He could fight. Who was it that said they got into a lot of squirrels with him? Like someone said they used to fight with him a lot. Oh man, that must have been so fun. The only story I'm gonna tell, we was at the YMCA, and I was obviously the one that would do what I'm not supposed to do, because it was fun. And we were running around with these kids in this playroom, and had these large deck of cards. And I used to throw these cards around the room, just throwing these cards. And all the kids, they had to sit out before they get in, but they just wanted to run out in front of these cards and just get hit by them. So one day we having the kids sit out, and all the kids, they just didn't care. They ran out and for sure started getting hit by the cards. Nate came in the room. I forgot who he was talking to, but he just seen me throwing these cards, and he grabbed some other cards and started throwing it at these kids. And we cut kids, and we hit kids. And nobody found out, y'all. So y'all the first ones to find out. Ain't that something? That's special. Y'all can go tell that to somebody. But it was just cool because Nate wanted to, once again, make them feel like kids. Kids just want to do what the grown-ups is doing. They just want to hang out. They just want to love on you. They have so much love and don't know what to do with it, so they pass it to you first. And if they can't pass it to you, they pass it to their friends. And that's the greatest thing about friends, is the Bible says that a friend is stick closer to you than a brother. And no matter who Nate met, you had no choice but to love him. You had no choice. It's a spell or something. I don't know what it is, but you had no choice but to love Nate, because he loved you, and you just had to love him back. So I'm honored. I'm honored. I'm honored to be here. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, sorry, you're about to hear from a lot of YMCA people. Sorry about that. So I'm just going to share one story. Yeah, Nate. There's a lot of you, sorry. Okay, so Nate, yeah, he struggled with himself a lot, but I think one of my favorite stories is just how selfless he was, and I think that's something we can all agree on. He was the head of his room when we were at the YMCA, the red room. Perfect color for Nate. And there was a week where this kid, his last name was Edwards. It was so long ago, but this kid would come in with the biggest ham and cheese sandwich, like no mayonnaise, no nothing. Like this sandwich was just drier than you could ever imagine. Like, and this kid didn't get like any juice, like no milk, no nothing. And this kid is hungry. Like you're at the YMCA, you got to eat. Like you got to keep the energy up. So this kid would eat it, and as you can imagine, he would choke like almost immediately. And Nate, I worked at the Y a long time, and I've seen a lot of staff, like hesitate when you actually have to. Oh my God, they're choking. But Nate, there was like almost no pause. It was the wildest thing. I remember I saw it the first time. He just jumped into action and gave this kid the Heimlich maneuver. And Nate was about my size, and this kid is like this. And like he just jumped in and saved this kid. And then I remember 2 days later, he did it again. And he came into the office. He was like, "Yo, like what's up with my kids?" And yeah, he was. I think like everybody said, I just kind of just very honored to have known him. And yeah, he was a very beautiful person. So thank you.
I can't help but say this, but look. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's Nate Peterson, according to Hebrews 12:1. We are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, and I want to tell you that as I was sitting back there, all I could think about was the pain and the loss that I was feeling. And I saw the biggest, most beautiful smile of Nate smiling down. And I really believe that was God in this very difficult time for all of us to remind us my phone died, so I couldn't look up Hebrews 12:1. But I do know it says that we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, and that we must continue to press on to our high calling. And I really believe Nate was sitting there with me in spirit to encourage us to press on to our high calling. Nate was the least likely friend that I wanted for my children. And my son was the first one up here. And Nate was the third child, middle child of Peterson's, and my oldest best friend. And it wasn't until Joel was 5 years old that I actually let him have a play date with anyone. I kept him under lock and key, as I did all of my children. And I remember about 30 minutes after the first play hour had gone by, within that hour, I got a phone call that said, "Hey, do you know where Joel's at?" And I said, "Yes, he's at the Petersons." And he said, "No, he's on the corner of Wade and Palms, and they're holding up cars, he and Nate, with ski masks and squirt guns." And I said, "What?" And it was like within 30 minutes. And I had to laugh, reminding myself of what a great kid Nate was. And he taught my kids how to play. And Joel was the oldest, and we had other children quickly. And it was hard to be the oldest. And we would say, "Let's call over Nate and Luke, and let's have the Petersons over." And it was a time that my kids were able to grow up and understand what it meant to really have fun. Nate was the one that I would always keep my eye on. And it was Christmas time, and we had Kurt come over and hang our Christmas lights. And we didn't really know the neighbor next door, but Kurt got to know him real quick because he started swearing at him on the roof. And he was about, I guess, 12 or 13 years old. And so it was about the next week, Nate came over, and he and Joel snuck out onto the roof to get to know this kid a little better and show him really how to live. And when I finally got him in the house, I remember Nate telling Joel's younger brothers, "This isn't how you want to live, because God doesn't want us to live that way." Nate was the one that set the example, but yet would take the risk. And there's something to be said about that, because when we're really living for God, we're taking risk, and it's not easy to be all that we're called to be. But the short time that we had with Nate, we can all say we've learned to take risks. And he would be the ones that my youngest is now 15, and he had a few years with Nate, but he could say that Nate was the one that would pray with us. And Nate would be the one that was the first to say that's not what Jesus would do. And I had some really tough years, but I want to remember Nate, the courage that he had, the faith that he had, and the friendship that he shared. And we need to go and share that today with the world, because there's a lot of lonely, hurting people. And Nate gave that to us, and it was a gift. Thank you, Patty, and thank you, Joe.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kimberly. I also worked at the YMCA. Mr. Wonderful. What a fitting name. I knew Nate as Zeppelin because we did not use our names at the YMCA. And Zeppelin was very fitting. No matter where I went, I always heard his music. The kids loved him. And actually, Nate and Gerald gave me a really hard time. I was the lead staff at the YMCA when I first met them. And Nate really, really touched my heart. And he really taught me the importance of being adventurous and relaxing and letting loose. As lead staff, I was, a little uptight, and I felt a lot of responsibility on my shoulders to, take care of the kids, take care of the staff. And Nate made it so difficult at times, but he made the job so fun. And I'm so devastated. I truly feel a piece of me is missing. I'm 100% sad, but I'm also 100% happy to be here and to witness and get a little peek of the impact that Nate had on so many people. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so lucky to know him. And I miss him deeply, deeply. He truly was Mr. Wonderful. And I'm gonna miss him so much. Absolutely.
Hello, everybody. Some of you guys may know me. For those of you who don't, my name's Adam. I used to go to school here at Lighthouse, and I came in 7th grade and pretty quickly made friends with Nathan's older brother, Luke, and pretty much became attached at the hip. Everything we did together. I started spending the night at the Peterson's house, and one night turned into weeks, and eventually I'd be there more than I was at my own home. And I remember Nate, every single time I was there, just all he wanted to do was hang out, just wanted to be with his older brothers and, just be part of the group. And he loved us so much, and it was almost a punishment every time he annoyed us or something, just, all right, Nate, you got to go away for an hour, and it was miserable. It was like torture. But he loved us. And I think the earliest memory I think I have of Nate, I think he was about 8 or 9, and a lot of us from the church had gone up to Desert Chapel for his oldest brother Kurt's game. It was a championship game, and a couple of the kids that were there had started a little pickup game on the side, and I remember Luke and I were kind of on the sidelines. We were more interested in the game, but every now and then we'd turn our backs and we'd see the Lighthouse boys just getting throttled by this like big burly kid from Desert Chapel, and nobody had an answer for him. I just remember I kept looking back, and they would just throw this kid the ball, and he would just charge in, touchdown, no problem. And I think this kid started bullying somebody. There's some sort of altercation happened, and I just remember looking back, and this big kid standing over one of the Lighthouse kids, and here comes Nate, who was a little pipsqueak at the time, maybe 80 pounds soaking wet, comes in out of nowhere and just jumps up and grabs this kid by his head. He looked like he was wrestling a bull down. It was amazing. But he gets him down and he starts wailing on him, and I just remember Luke, look at this guy, and I just kind of so impressed, and just like it was amazing, and that's right then was when I learned if you're a friend of Nate, you got a warrior in your corner. And there was no challenge too big for him. Nothing scared him. He was, if it was for his friends or family, he was gung ho. And that's what I remember from him. I remember, it was so easy to hang out with him. He easily fit in our friend group, and I feel like some of our friends also thought he was a cool kid. But yeah, that was Nate. Pure love and just all adrenaline. Thank you.
My name is Garrett LaHood. Pretty sure all of you know me here. If you don't, I'm Joel's little brother, Karina's son. Nate was like my big brother. Nate was like my second big brother from the time I was in 5th grade to Nate had a love that no one would ever understand. He used to text me all the time asking if I was doing good, asking if I was doing okay. I love him like a brother since he was a brother. Since he was a child, he was like a brother to me, going on vacations, going to the beach, teach me how to skate, going to the skate park with him, teach me how to tackle. Love him too much, and it hurts me on, and I just want to say he had a love like no other. and he's in a better place now. So.
Hi, I'm Zoe. I grew up with Nate, so I thought I'd just share a few funny short things. So we all know Nate was very charming. He knew how to turn that charm on, and he definitely used it. I remember growing up, I wanted to be as daring, as brave as Nate, and as strong as Tori. So I remember where we live, we have the airplanes from Santa Monica Airport. They fly over and they land. They fly over our house, and they would be in our backyard, and we would pretend to shoot down the Nazi airplanes because we had to save America. I always wondered if they saw us, and I always wondered if one of them might be a Nazi. And as some people mentioned, Liz too, we did swim team together in junior lifeguards on Mar Vista Pool. And if you don't know that pool, for swim team, you have to get up really early, and it's unheated outdoors, so it's freezing cold. And they'd have lanes the long way. And in the middle of it, it went from like 5 feet all the way down to, then it would go like to 9 feet, and then same again. So we'd have to do laps. But Nate and Joel would swim halfway, they'd dive into the 9, and they would hold their breath as long as they could, and then they'd swim back, and they did the lap. So, and what frustrated me so much is because when we'd have to swim or race, even though I'm putting all the work, he would smoke everybody, and I'm out there looking like a wet duck. So, well, I guess ducks swim well. Yeah, he'd still be first. It was Yes, right. And then also I remember in junior lifeguards, so I think he was 11 or 10, maybe 12. There was, Liz knows, there was this girl who was actually taller than him. I think she was Brazilian. She was beautiful, and she was a little older. Oh my gosh, Nate turned on the charm so much for her. And he's like this little guy, like, hey, how you doing, baby? And she's like 13 or something, but I think that was his first kiss. So Nate got game. And then I remember a little bit older, we went together with the Peterson family, I think somewhere in Malibu, somewhere in the forestry where you hike, and they had a lake. And I remember we were swimming around with the Peterson family and I think another family, and there was a tall rock area, and some people were jumping off it, and we're like, okay, you want to go, Nate? And he was, no. He was actually scared, and I remember being so proud because I actually jumped off the rock and he didn't. So I fulfilled my lifelong goal. I don't think he liked that I did that. He didn't talk to me for the rest of the day. And then lastly, one of the things that I can remember is technically, I guess, Nate changed my adult life. So in, I believe it was 5th or 4th grade, I was a tomboy. I didn't really hang out with the girls as much. I didn't really play with the hair, the Barbie dolls. I would go over to Nate's house and play with the G.I. Joes or the guns or different stuff. And they were playing football out here, as we do during lunch. And I remember I was going to block him, and he had the football, and he brushed past me, and he got me right in my chest. And I guess I didn't realize I was developing. And he went, oh, was that your boob? And I went, no, that was my elbow. And because of Nate, I started wearing bras. So thank you.
Wow. I think Nate definitely deserves a football story. So we're playing our rival football team, and they had a quarterback who looked like a grown man. And, as the coach, I'm just eyeing them up and just trying to figure out what are we going to do about this guy. And so first play, they do a quarterback sneak. He's in the shotgun, runs straight up the middle, and there's Nate, middle linebacker, at least half his size. And Nate just form tackles him, helmet right in the guy's sternum, puts the guy right on his back. Guy, I think he broke his sternum, but I'm not exactly sure. The guy's out of the game. First play. First play. And this was like typical Nate. But so after taking him out of the game, we just slaughtered our rival. And it was just so much fun. But so we get to the fourth quarter and we're beating them by,
It's 50 to maybe a touchdown. And so as coaches, we're thinking, gosh, we don't want to run the score up. If we give Nate the ball, he scores a touchdown. If we throw the ball, it looks disrespectful, like we're trying to run the score up. So we don't know what to do. So the only thing we can do is throw the ball. And the other coach is getting livid because we're throwing the ball. But we're actually trying not to score, because if we give Nate the ball, he's gonna score. Because every time he touched the ball, he scored. And that was just Nate. It was every way we could find a way to get the ball in his hands, we were going to score. And so at the end of the game, the coach came up and he's lecturing me about how disrespectful it was. And I told him, I said, if we gave the ball to 33, he was going to run up the score. We were not going to score throwing the ball. This is the only way we couldn't score, is by not giving the ball to Nate. Just a tribute to how good he was. He could make 8 guys miss playing 8-man football on one play.
I just wanted to honor Nate because I knew him my whole life, and I was the only girl in the class with him. And there were so many times people thought we were like siblings, we were twins, and sometimes we were like, yeah, we are, just to piss people off. I just want to say he was a goof, and he definitely was loyal. I just want to share some stories. Very competitive and so extremely thoughtful. I remember the way he would sing Take On Me. It was so high. He would be like, ah, and I was always reserved, and then, he'd always move his hands. And I was like, whoa, And I remember playing it, like Zoe said, 2-hand touch football in the yard. And I always wanted to be on his team because that meant I would win. I remember Olympic Day. It's like a competition between everyone in your class at Lighthouse. And it was as the years went on, it was more of Nate versus the guys. But in the beginning, I had a fighting chance, and I always wanted to beat him, like Zoe. And I remember in high school, we played soccer, and it was co-ed. And so Nate and I were both defense. I was right, and he was left or something. And this guy just totally took me out. And I was so mad. And all I see is Nate coming across the field, and he just tackled that guy football style. I was like, and we had actually had a good play, but then they got a penalty kick, and then we were now back because of that. And I was like, oh my gosh, thanks. Every single day I felt like he has to borrow a pencil, and sometimes I felt like he just did it to make me mad. I'm like, do you have no pencils at home? He always asks for a pencil. Sometimes I would bring extra towards the end of the year. I just brought extra for him. I remember one time we were driving home from Luke's game, football game, and me and Nate were in the back seat, and we're looking at his at some CDs, and he was like, I'm going to play these for you when we get to my house, because I was coming over to the Peterson house. And Mr. Peterson goes, what music is that? And he was like, nothing. And I remember Mr. Peterson grabbed the CDs and just threw them out the freeway. And Nate was like, no. And I was like, oh my God. I remember he was like, they shouldn't have named you Tori. They should have named you Zoo, because you're just so crazy. You're like every single animal. So I would just always remember that he called me Zoo. In high school, I was obsessed with Heath Ledger, and I shared a locker with another girl because, at Lighthouse there's only 5 lockers. So he managed to get a huge printout of Heath Ledger, and he taped it to a wooden board, and he got every piece of chocolate and every kind of crazy thing, and he asked the girl for the locker number combination. And I come out for break, and I open the locker, and just Heath Ledger's right on my face, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I look over, and Susie's laughing, and Nate's just he was so happy, and that's the thoughtful Nate. He loved ranch Doritos and ranch corn nuts. He would have 4 or 5 bags of the blue ones, yeah. And I was like, it's a lot. I remember one time it was Tex, Nate, and I at the Petersons, and I had this blister on the back of my leg, and I was laying down because we're all just sitting on the ground or something, and Tex accidentally stepped on it, and it hurt, and the blister popped, and I was like, ow. So Nate grabbed a BB gun and just shot the crap out of Tex. Tex was crying. I was like, geez, that's way too far. I remember in music class, no matter how old we were, Mrs. Caesar would be like, we'd be walking in, from our last class, and then Mrs. Caesar would be like, you, Tori and Nate, you cannot sit next to each other, at the opposite sides of the sanctuary, because all we would do was just like goof around and make kids not sing the hymns that we were supposed to. And through the years, I think like sophomore year we stopped being so close. But I just want to say, like, no matter what, he always said happy birthday to me. And even like if he didn't have his phone at the time, he always like wrote it in a letter or something. And he was just so thoughtful. I just thought about how he was so competitive, and he got to go to heaven before all of us, so he won. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Justin Kane. I'm the person in Luke's story that would come over to Luke's house to hang out with Nate. I loved Luke, and we were really good friends, but Nate was a special person. He was a lot of fun. And so, growing up with Nate was such a blessing. And talking about a little bit about what Zach talked about is I also had the opportunity to coach Nate in football all 4 years. And so I've coached at the Lighthouse for 10 years. And I think it's safe to say Nate is by far the most athletic person I've ever coached, period, hands down. And one of the funny things about Nate is he really didn't like to work out. We'd have days in the weight room, and it didn't matter what I did. I could literally try to hold a carrot out in front of him, and Nate's like, I don't care. I'm not going to work out. And Nate didn't care about working out, but when it came time to play in the games, he was just phenomenal, raw athletic ability. And like Zach said, he would literally take on guys 2-3 times his size, no problem. But speaking of Nate's loyalty, sometimes it took a lot to get Nate fired up. But all it would take is someone to cheap shot one of his teammates, and that turned Nate on. And he would go after guys with such a tenacity when someone had messed with his teammates or someone that he cared about. And it just spoke volumes of his character and his loyalty and his love for his friends and the people that he cared about. And what's really cool is a couple years ago, Nate actually helped me coach and Zach coach. He was one of our assistants. And it was really cool kind of seeing him take on that role and the love he had for the players and how much he would give anything, to not miss practice. He'd find a way to get to practice. He'd find a way to get to the games, and just spoke volumes about his character. And, I oftentimes get criticized as a coach for being a little bit eccentric during football games. I run around a lot. I probably run my mouth too much. But it was really cool to kind of see Nate doing the same thing. And I think one of our last games, I can't go without saying this, it was a big game we won. And Nate was, I don't know how, but he coined this phrase. He'd tell all of our football players, hey, yo, go get your money. And that was just Nate's thing. And we won a really big rivalry game. And I just remember Nate running up and down the field, get your money, get your money. And that was a great memory of Nate. But he was an incredible young man. I feel incredibly blessed to be a part of his life and just the love he had for people. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Lisa Clancy, and we came into Nate's life later in his high school years. But I was able to get to know him pretty well because I would drive them to football practices. And it was a time when the guys were trying to think of a senior dinner skit, and they were all going to mock each other. And I was sitting around the table with them because I always like to include myself. And they said, Mrs. Clancy, you be Nate. So I was like, yeah, sure. They gave me a blonde wig, parted it in the middle, and had, we swoop it back, feather it back. And we were trying to think of a line. And it was like right around that time that Nate was in the car on the way to football practice. He was trying to say to us something like, I really think the eyes are the window to the soul. And it was so sweet. But, of course, the guys were making fun of him. So they're like, say that line, Mrs. Clancy, say that line. So I had to, sit there with them and say, the eyes guys, I think the eyes are the window to the soul. I say it in a funny way, but you know what? I think that looking back, God blessed Nate with a sensitivity, and I think that's what made him so charismatic, is that he had this sensitivity. He knew how to read people, and he knew how to please people. And as we all know, the gifts that God gives us can sometimes be blessings, sometimes can be curses. And I think that, unfortunately, because of all the demons that Nate was fighting, that sensitivity was part of the problem, and he just couldn't switch it around. And I feel honored to be a person that Nate shared some of his demons with, and we were able to talk about them, and he was very, very generous to me. And it wasn't but I think a month ago, again, he always showed up at the Lighthouse, no matter how long he was gone. And it wasn't but a month ago he was here, and per usual, he gave me a big hug, and we talked a little bit about, the demons, but he always had the huge smile on his face. But I think that God knew that he, tried hard enough to fight him, and it was better for him to just bring Nate up with him rather than continue fighting. And I will always remember that smile in my heart, and I will love him forever.
Hey, I'm Ricky. I'm sure you guys know me. I didn't think I'd be back up here after I did my graduation speech, but yeah. Nate was my North Star at Lighthouse. He guided me to the amazing family, and I remember like a memory, first day at school actually, coming back from the summer I'd spent at Wilderness Boot Camp before I came to Lighthouse, and he looked at me and turned around. He was in front of me where he sat, and he turned around and said, "You're playing football." And so I did, and years went by, and then I remember we became friends, and he said, "You're playing rugby." And so I was like, okay, yeah, and so I did. And I met some amazing friends through that. And then I remember our first day of actual like pads on high school football freshman year. And I was really nervous, like really like piss my pants nervous. And I said, like, what do I do? Like I'm not gonna be able to do this. This is I've had I'm sure Luke, pretty much my big brother, he knows this. I've never really been said, but I have really bad anxiety about doing new things, almost every single new thing, and so that was a new thing for me. And I had I always before I met Nate and before I met Luke and the family, I quit everything I did when I had anxiety about it, and wanted to quit Lighthouse, wanted to quit football, wanted to quit rugby. When they said that we're going to Utah and you're not going to ski, you're going to snowboard, and I wanted to quit and not go. And they sent me down the mountain. We went up to Big Bear, and they sent me down the mountain, didn't tell me how to stop, didn't tell me how to do anything, didn't give me a helmet, and said, go, do it. And yeah, but so back to that, back to freshman year football. I just remember him saying to me, "Oh well, my brothers told me if you're nervous and you're having, you feel kind of weird, make yourself throw up, drink a lot of water, and make yourself throw up, and you'll feel better." And it worked. And yeah, and yeah, and then just the trips we went on, just so many amazing memories that. Even just doing that, fun things like going to Paris, Africa, eating dinner in the Eiffel Tower, and just everything. These new things that were were exciting, but they're exciting to a point where I didn't want to do it for some reason. It hit me somewhere in here, just like talking today, honestly. And he was always there. He'd smile and be like, "You're dumb. This is people don't get to do this." In Africa. Dr. Bravo's gonna hate me. Like we were scared. We were both scared. We were talking up late at night, and like we've like never really been out of the country. Let alone we're in like Africa, and he was just like, I think we're scared because we don't know where we are. And so he had the idea to like hop the convent walls and take a tour of the city like late at night. And so we did it, and we weren't scared anymore. It was you know, we weren't scared. And so that's my memory of Nate. I have no regrets. Anything we did, all the memories we shared, the talks we had, the talks about insecurities and scared to love and scared to be loved and like to accept that with family and friends and people we love. And you know, he gave me that like the courage, like just to talk today. That like too nervous to just want to quit. Like always want to quit. Helps me with work. Helps me with life. Helps me with everything. And Luke, you know, guided us on that path. He wouldn't let us quit ever. Like it was you're gonna like. You'd be scared to quit. There'd be something worse than quitting. And so you just do it. And so I want to sing thank you to the Petersons and Luke and Nate. Love you guys.
Well, most of you can't see, but this poster here of Nate with his incredible smile and his magnetic personality says son, brother, and friend. Son to Pat and Joe, and in many ways I felt like Nate Peterson was my son as well, watching him grow up and spending so much time with the Peterson family. And as I was listening to all of the stories and all of the things about Nate and enjoying hearing all of the funny things and the crazy things that Nate did, my thoughts went to what would Nate Peterson say if he were standing here right now to you and I, okay? Because I believe it was Kurt who alluded to the fact that Nate's looking down and watching us. And I think what he would say is, you know something, take it serious. Take Jesus serious. If you don't know Jesus Christ, you need to ask Jesus Christ in your life if you're ever to see Nate again, and if you're ever to live eternally as Nate is now with the Lord. And I just wanted to say that we are so grateful. I think on behalf of the Peterson family, thank you so much for being here and for being a part of this and showing not only your love for Nate Peterson, but also your love and your support for the Peterson family. We love them dearly, and I was thinking, it's as the weeks and the months go by, they're gonna be the loss, and so I would encourage you to pray for the Peterson family. Send your love and let them know that you still care. Just not let it go from here. Let's go ahead and bow our heads in prayer. Father, we're so grateful for Nate and for, Lord, our days are numbered, and we don't know if the days that we have available to us. But Lord, we know that you've called him home. And Lord, we know that someday we're going to see him as we trust and put our faith and our hope and our confidence in you. Lord, I just pray that you'd be with each one of us as we go from this place. We consider the things that were spoken today. More importantly, God, we would consider our need for Jesus in our lives. Lord, I pray your blessing over the Peterson family. Watch over them. And God, guard over their hearts and their minds in the days to come. And bless that family, Lord, with a peace that passes all understanding. And God, we thank you and we give you all of the praise for this day in Jesus' name. Amen.
Take me past the outer courts, through the holy place, past the brazen altar. Lord, I want to see your face. Pass me by the crowds of people, the priests who sing their praise. A hunger and a thirst for your righteousness, and it's only found in one place. Take me into the Holy of Holies. Take me in by the blood of the Lamb. Take me into the Holy of Holies. Take the coal, cleanse my lips, here I am. Take me into the Holy of Holies. Take me in by the blood of the Lamb. Take me into the Holy of Holies. Take the coal, cleanse my lips, here I am. Take the coal, cleanse my lips, here I am. Take the coal, cleanse my lips, here I am. Thank you again on behalf of the Peterson family. And we do want to remind you that they have some wonderful food put aside for us to continue to share. If you didn't feel comfortable speaking in front of other people and you still wanted to share something with the family, please, this is your time and your opportunity to do that. So again, thank you all and God bless you.